Good night and welcome to Mindful Life 342. I am your host, Nathan Springer. Thank you for being here. It is the 6th of February 2024. And we are here in the land, the beautiful Twin Island Republic, paradise, where God resides, but yet it seems to not be a real place at the same time. The Twin Island Republic of Trinidad and Tobago. Yeah. We're here. Thank you for joining me. Once you're on the inside, make sure you hit that like button. It really does help. You hit that like button however you see fit. That's double tapping the screen over there on TikTok. However you hit the like button on Facebook, you can do just that. And on YouTube, also hit that like button. If you're looking at this on repeat, this streams over on YouTube live, but you can also catch it on repeat. Nathan Spring over there. If you are not subscribed to my YouTube channel, you can head there and subscribe. Catch all of the lives that you might have missed, and make sure to hit that like button as you catch it on repeat. So yeah, let's jump into the first story. The first story, I mean, is it really a surprise? This is what, the fourth time in 24 months or something like that TCL has raised their prices. But what do you expect? They're a monopoly. TCL increases cement prices. Local cement manufacturer Trinidad Cement Limited yesterday announced that the price of the commodity will increase on February 19th, 13 days from today. The cement price increases are between 6.63% and 7.69% according to the Guardian media calculations. Now, again, as I keep a going record of this, keep in mind these price increases. So you all got the 4% from the government. Okay, some people got that 4%, but this is increasing by 6 point something percent, by 7%. All right, minimum wage went up by a tiny percent there, but so did cement. So was there really any gain? The new price of the 42.5 kilogram bag of premium plus cement, VAT inclusive, is $57.38. The current price is $53.81, which is an increase of 6.63%. Eco cement in 42.5 kg sacks will now be $52.88 VAT inclusive, while the current price is $49. That is an increase of 7.69%. So the cheaper cement is getting a higher increase than the more expensive cement, just by the way. The one that really sells, you know, those eco bags are the bags that you see selling at most hardwares now. Those are the bags that seem to not be able to stay on the hardware shelves. Well, they're getting the highest percentage of increase. In the message to its valued customers, TCL said, as discussed at our virtual meeting held on Monday, January 22nd, CEMEX TCL continues to face increasing manufacturing costs. Despite our investments and efficiencies implementation, we have been unable to mitigate increases fully. CEMEX TCL continues to give priority to our valued customers by providing excellent quality cement and availability at most competitive prices. Please be guided by the attached update customer price list effective Monday. I saw someone talking about TCL mentioning we're still at one of the best prices in the Caribbean. And I thought it kind of humorous that TCL would talk about Caribbean cement prices, seeing as CEMEX TCL owns basically all of the cement production in the Caribbean. I wonder who certified TCL cement for quality to justify the increase the price. Well, I don't know if they need a certification to justify that increase. All they need is to have the cornering of the market, and there being a demand and they being the only people who supply it. There's a demand for cement and they are the only suppliers. Hi, host, where are you now coming from? Say hi to the people. Oops. Tell the people hello. No, even. Yeah, it if it's a cornered market, they don't need any proof of any kind of quality or any improvement or anything like that. All they need is the cornered market, and they have that said cornered market. In December, TCL increased prices on March 20th, 2023, 5%. The company said then cement prices are in fact set to be marginally adjusted, taking into consideration some of the rising cost factors. In December 2021, TCL raised the price of the Eco Cement by 8% and by 15% for a premium of the same weight. One hardware owner who wished not to be named said TCL continues to raise prices because it is the monopoly supplier of cement. So the hardware has no choice but to go with the increases, which is not good. Nah, I stopped because of baby. Ha 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 ha. Well, that's the trick. That's the trick. She is the host. She's the catch. Azel Barkley says, "Hi Lily, hi Lily." She's looking to go to bed now. I hope. She does her own thing when she's ready. But you know, every time she has to come in and give the people a little hello. Sometimes she feels to come back. If she comes back, we'll be blessed. But yeah, Mexico's Cemex Group is TCL's largest shareholder with a 69% stake in the cement producer. Rockhard Distributors, a company owned by Ramhit Construction family, decided to shut down its operations in September 2021. Rockhard had been importing cement from Turkey. In its notice in September, Rockhard complained that it faced continuous challenges from the TNT government. Don't forget that. Let's not forget, Rockhard's problem wasn't the economy, wasn't the climate, wasn't the people, wasn't crime. It was the government of the Republic of Trinidad and Tobago that worked assiduously to ensure that TCL has no competition. I assume for lack of foreign exchange and also high import taxes. The foreign exchange wasn't their problem. Initially, the government misclassified their cement, which meant they were charged a higher rate of duty than was legally allowed for the cement. Then the government also imposed a 50% duty on imported cement. The government cut out specific laws and policies with the intention of making running a competitor to TCL impossible. That is too much power for the government, my God. Well, it is the power that the government has, and it's the power that especially this People's National Movement government loves to wield. Where they could decide who the winners should be in business and who should be the ones to remain in business, and those are the ones that shall remain in business. And who really loses out from this? Like, even the business people who are running Rockhard, they aren't the biggest losers out of this. They are business people. They may go into another venture. The main losers are the people of Trinidad and Tobago, who at one point in time we had the benefit of a race to the bottom of cement prices. Between Rockhard and TCL, they were both trying to raise their cement prices down to the bottom as low as possible, and we were getting benefit from that. But no, the PNM says no. How dare Trinis be able to build their houses cheaply? We can't allow that. So let's make sure that Rockhard cannot import their cement, and then we chase them out of the market, and 2 months after Rockhard leaves the market, TCL starts raising their prices. Raise once, raise twice, raise thrice, raise 4 times. How is it that all of the manufacturing prices keep going up as soon as the competition left? When the competition was here, their prices were dropping. So the cost of manufacturing was going down back then? The cost of manufacturing was going down when Rockard was around? So how all of a sudden as Rockard left, the cost of manufacturing cement, that clinker and that limestone, procuring that raw material has just gotten prohibitively expensive? We ain't riot yet, ain't? We ain't riot yet. And, there is some truth to that kind of statement about we ain't riot yet. Because the reality is Trinidad is still a wealthy country. And that's kind of the advantage that the government has on their side. Trinidad is such a wealthy country that they are able to get away with certain abuses that poorer people would have revolted for. But with enough wealth, the wealth could cushion some of this and people could be willing to turn a blind eye to it. That's not to say that the government is doing a good job at running the country. That's not to say that the government is doing a good job at running the economy. That's to say that Trinidad and Tobago fortuitously has been in a position where we had lots of natural resources and we found it at a good time, so we had the right timing for all of it, so we were placed in an economically advantageous position by just fortune. That's what has our government. That's why our government could do something like change over the monetary bills and have some people losing hundreds of dollars and people just live with that, no riots yet. Raise prices incrementally year over year and people ain't riot that yet, while spending foolishly on certain things and people ain't riot yet, and that kind of thing. Talk of the property tax. But I think the government is tightening this noose and they're basically trying to find out where the breaking point is. The problem with that is the breaking point is too far already. You don't want it to be that you tighten the noose so tight that you find out where Trinidad's breaking point is. And it feels like this government has some noose tightening behavior with them. You see, the reality, people don't riot because they're not aware enough. I don't think it's awareness is the reason. Comfortable people don't riot. Wealthy people don't riot. If you have a house and bills to pay and a mortgage to pay and a car loan to pay, you are not the prime candidate for a riot. And that's the position many Trinidadians are at. If unemployment begins to skyrocket and lots of those gainfully employed people are no longer gainfully employed, all of a sudden running in the road and pelting bottles seems like, well, as good a thing to do as nothing. Same thing, they tried implementing online taxes and online shopping to keep a certain name's monopoly. And I will say I kind of believe that too, because it wasn't only the online tax, it was the tax on the importation of vehicles also. I always like to mention this. During the partnership era, yes, it seemed like corruption ran unabated, but also there was a boom in small business, small entrepreneurs, because there was that opening up of the economy. People were everyone had an online business. People were bringing in cars and attempting to sell it like that. All of a sudden, PNM came in and said, whoa, you all Trinis are getting too excited on this free market business. How dare you all think you could buy things and sell it locally? Don't you know that's for our financiers only? I remember one certain short, lightly melanated finance minister literally spoke about people bringing in, importing goods and selling it, and scoffed at that because his intention is to push the young people into manufacturing indigenous products. You know, go and cut down some coconut trees and make the coconut fiber into sponge and make some pillows out of that, for goodness sakes, people. Don't you know that the only people that could import foreign goods and sell it locally are our financiers? How dare you try to make easy money? No, go and learn how to shred coconuts and make it into some kind of magic reel so that you can export it. Then we, the PNM government, will determine that, that's good for the economy. A commentary piece over on the Newsday here that kind of speaks about some of that. The property tax noose by Dr. Neil Gosine. The poverty tax, as he calls it, was introduced with effect from January 1st. This tax, when it previously existed, was in the region of $300 under per annum. I remember a figure of $1,000 being suggested by the Minister of Finance as to what the annual tax would most likely be when reinstated. In reality, this new poverty tax is nothing close to that figure. Many people are now being asked to pay between $5,000 and $12,000 per annum. This is causing much stress and anxiety among the many people who are just unable to afford this back-breaking tax. It seems like desktop valuations were done on residential homes that inflict a penalty on people just for living in certain areas, with no appreciation of actual rent values that you can get at this time in the market. It seems like people just went around neighborhoods pulling figures out of thin air saying these people have money so they can pay. If the valuation division can get me a tenant for the rental figure quoted for my home, I will happily accept the tenant and pay the property tax without further issue. RL says the government is trying to hold on to as much foreign exchange as it can at the expense of Trini's. Fireflame says about 7 years they're building a court in Golden Grove prison can't finish because amalgamated money had to make. Hey. You know, and some people frown at the idea of privatizing police. But we have an important key part of our prison service is privatized. Like, that's a private company. I am sure many young people in Trinidad look around and believe Amalgamated is part of the national security infrastructure. You know, that's a branch of national security. They have to believe that. Many young people look around and believe that. It appears the finance minister keeps testing the pain point of citizens to see how far he can go without reaction. Up to this point, it seems to have worked well for him, but this time he has taken things too far for property owners to accept these exorbitant rental value figures. A caring government is one that seeks to improve the lives of citizens. So far, all we have seen is tax after tax, but still our roads are deplorable. Citizens do not feel safe with 15 people being murdered in the first week of January, and we are now seeing potentially higher water rates and electricity rates as there is a constant reduction in the standard of living in Titi. First, the 7% online tax was introduced. Then there were higher taxes on vehicles with engines over 1600cc. This immediately forced many of the middle class to purchase the lower priced vehicles. No longer could they afford the cars in the 2000cc bracket that they were previously able to purchase. And that's that kind of flavor that I think is the PNM flavor. And I despise it. I despise it. Where our finance minister will go stand in parliament and say that the country has too many large cars. People don't need these large cars. So we have to raise the taxes on these large cars. And he says that, what, a couple weeks after he buys a Mustang. These people whining in your face with the biggest engine vehicles they could find on the global market, that they bring in tax-free on top of their exorbitant salaries compared to the relative worker in Trinidad and Tobago. And then on top of that, we'll tell you, no, we have to raise the taxes on those vehicles. Because no, you all can't, you all need to drive an Aqua. Go and drive a Leaf and a Note. Those are your vehicles. Leave us in the Prados and the Porsches. Go find an 80 wagon, please. Find an 80 wagon and drive in your class. Just now, everyone will be driving motorcycle. Not everyone. Not everyone. The parliamentarians will still come through the place with a procession of Prados, Fortuners, Land Cruisers, and sitting high in some kind of executive vehicle, and they will watch everyone in a rickshaw kind of scooter bike rolling around the place. That's the attitude of the elites. That's the attitude of global elites all around the world. Those people who fly in 60 private jets to a conference on climate change to tell the world that they should ride bicycles. You need to ride a bicycle. We have too much pollution. So we are going to raise the taxes to such a prohibitive level that you could only afford to ride a bike. And that's good for the country. But me, I am an important person. I need air condition in order to make sure the country keeps running. You know, I need air condition. And I need a vehicle to reach much more quickly from point A to point B. I am an important person. The Animal Farm story captures a lot of the attitude of politicians and those who always want to help the people. They capture that attitude so well. All animals are equal was the mantra that the pigs put up when they took over from the humans. I don't know how many of you know the Animal Farm storyline. Animals take over a farm because the humans are abusing the animals, you know. So the pigs take over in place of the humans and we would run the farm. Animals running the farm as animals. Really good for the animals, you know. Really good for all the animals. And over time you see that the pigs change. All animals are equal. But some animals are more equal than some. Well, when taxes raise, it will benefit the people who pay it. Remember, free healthcare. I see. The free healthcare that is so good, our Prime Minister will dare not let them touch his body. That free healthcare, right? So, steal our money, and that's theft because I didn't agree to it. You demand it and say that you will throw me in prison if I don't pay it. That's theft. So steal our money and say that you're using it for our own good, you know? Free healthcare. Yeah. Or how about this? And this is why so many people are against public goods. That when you wonder why are there people out there who don't want free healthcare? Are they crazy? Of course you want free healthcare. This is why. Because if it is that I must give Dr. Rowley and Mr. Colm Imbert my money and trust that they would spend it better than me, or I could keep all my money and spend it myself and take care of myself, I would rather option B. Personally, I would rather option B. And it's interesting. Many of the people who talk about the benefits of taxes and all of that, if you ask them straightforward, if you have $1,200, do you think if you donate it to the government, they would spend it better than if you kept it for yourself? Pretty much everyone would say no. Pretty much everyone would say no. What is your salary per month? $6,000 to $10,000 on the lower ends? Okay. If you had the option to give the government all of that money and the government will take care of all of your needs. Do you trust that they will do it? Do you trust that they will do it? Many will not be able to afford it. I'll say some may not be able to afford it. It might be on the middle in number, but in terms of number of people who make it. But in terms of the higher ends of salary in Trinidad, it's not middle. It's not lower, sorry. We must understand the positives before we talk about the negatives. I'm pretty sure we do understand the positives. We know what taxes do. We understand what taxes do. But to try to only point at the positives, to attempt to obscure the fact that there are many negatives, and the negatives may in fact outweigh the positives, is dishonest. So it's not about pointing out the positives or the negatives. It's about evaluating both, looking at it with a level head. And do you in Trinidad and Tobago think that for the average middle class family to give $5,000 a year to the government, do you think that will be beneficial to that family, or it would be more of a disadvantage to that family? I don't know, Zed Green. Which do you see as better? Glow Hot Butter says America's healthcare system is designed for the rich, poor, and middle class. Die here. That is a lie. That is a wholesale lie, Glow Hot Butter. That is not true. And many people seem like they don't understand that if you go to a hospital, whether you are insured or have a cent to your name or not, emergency healthcare would be given to you. And nonetheless, the J. King, you're agreeing to a point that is not true. That is not true. If you look at the healthcare outcomes of the average middle class person in the US with their more privatized healthcare system versus in Trinidad and Tobago, you could bet your bottom dollar a person would rather be middle class in the United States than middle class in Trinidad and face a healthcare emergency. Glow Hot Butter, you are, I have no doubt you live there because you sound like someone who lives there and doesn't have the perspective of the rest of the world, where a lot of spoiled Americans believe that if I cannot get healthcare that costs $5 million on a moment's notice, that means my healthcare is terrible. How dare they? Not understanding that there are many places, the majority of places in the world, where you get nothing. Good luck even with the antibiotics. Or in Trinidad, they send you to the hospital and paracetamol in your waist. When you compare what you have to the utopian, impossible idea of perfection, yes, it all seems terrible, but you need to compare it to what exists elsewhere. And if you ask someone, would you rather be a middle-class American facing a healthcare emergency or a middle-class Trinidadian facing a healthcare emergency? That answer, for anyone with a thinking, useful brain, should be a very easy answer. You have to go on a waiting list for that surgery you want. Because it's not up to you, it's up to the public. They determine and see if they can fit you in the next couple of years. In middle Trinidadian, any day life is better than we make it out to be. If you're saying that a middle class Trinidadian's life isn't terrible, I agree. I am not saying Trinidad is a horrible place. That's not what I'm saying. But I'm talking comparative here. And if you don't have money in America, you have easy credit. And I ain't sure if that's too much of a good thing sometimes, yeah, RL. But yeah, if you compare what you have to this illusion of perfection, it seems terrible. But compared to what there is in the world right now, like people talk about Canada and the public healthcare system there, they're killing people over there. They're recommending, hey, well, you come for surgery. You came for surgery in the public healthcare system. You're seeing some medical problems. They tell you, well, the surgery the allotted time we have that we could fit you in is next 5 years. You could get fitting in the next 5 years. But you have 5 years of suffering to take. So if you can't take that suffering, well, we could kill you tomorrow. That's where that public healthcare system led in Canada. We could kill you tomorrow, you know. That our doctor's recommendation is have you tried death, sir? We have a nice name for it, MAID, medical assistance in dying. You know, the prescription they sign up, you come for something, they tell you it's 5 years, you say, doc, I can't take that pain for 5 years, you know. The doctor tells you, well, we have a prescription for that pain, you know. He writes something here, signs it and gives you read the paper and you see doctor is DEATH? Doctor Diath? Doctor, is that some kind of new medic DAth? Who makes that one, doctor? GSK? No, sir. No, sir. We make that in the hospital here. It's death. Like, bro. And you say it's not easy, it's not great. What did the guys say? Well, compared to other countries, maybe so, but that doesn't mean the US system is all that great. Listen, it's healthcare system we're talking about. I think some people don't understand. Yes, you want to know something that makes people lack understanding on healthcare? You see this foolish statement that the socialists around the world throw around about healthcare being a human right? That statement causes a lot of misunderstanding around healthcare. Healthcare is a service. Someone has to learn how to do this, and you pay that someone for their service. Obviously, some people could afford more of the service than others. That is reality. That isn't unfair. That isn't wickedness. That isn't how that go be so. That is reality. And one of the Rockefellers on his 10th heart transplant or something like that, rocking past 100. And there are some people dead at 30 with a faulty heart. It's a service. That it's like building a house. The wealthier people could pay more for the service and they build bigger houses. What do you expect from healthcare? You expect a healthcare system that could cure everyone of cancer. But if to cure everyone of cancer requires 5 doctors to work full-time for 3 months, can everyone pay for 5 doctors for 3 months to work full-time? Is it just that the cure for cancer is something outside the reach of many people? And I'm not talking literally here, I'm using that as an example. Within healthcare, the idea that all people are supposed to have access to all levels of all healthcare, it's untrue, unsustainable, impossible. And here's the kicker. As human beings, we all die. So, to some extent, the healthcare system is going to fail us all. Fail us. For the healthcare system to be perfect, we must all be immortal. If we all die, what do you expect of the healthcare system to a certain extent? One of the reasons private healthcare is so expensive here is because there aren't many places. If the private healthcare is allowed to roam as it wants, it would be rather cheap actually. Listen, Aaron. I would be willing to argue you on that. Private healthcare in Trinidad, I think, may be more used on the day-to-day basis than the public healthcare. Maybe you spent too long in Tobago and you haven't been to Trinidad. Bro, every junction have a George's Private Medical Institute, a George's Private Hospital, a George's Private Clinic, a this one, that, a that one, that, a that one. And people be going there. The bout of flu that went on, you know, many people went down to Rampasad's medical and get a checkup and they go down to the health center. They didn't go down to Mount Hope. They went and they paid $500-600 and went private. In a country with free healthcare. Doesn't that tell you something? In a country with free healthcare, every junction has a private hospital popping up. You could ask yourself then, seeing as that seems to be the direction many people are heading in either way, that is where the question comes in. Would it then make more sense? The billions upon billions we spend in the public healthcare, if it were possible to get that to go back to the people and they use it in the private system. You could understand how a question like that is asked. I see more people in Mount Hope on a day-to-day basis than in these private hospitals. I mean, Mount Hope is huge. So there isn't a private hospital as large as Mount Hope. But if you're talking about the general patronage of those private hospitals, there are places in Trinidad and Tobago with a 800-meter stretch, and there are 3 private hospitals on that stretch. That alone tells you people don't open those businesses if they're busing. They don't open private medical clinics if they aren't making money, if no one is coming. I thought, bro, you thought it was just St. Augustine? You were wrong. There are a lot. Every corner. And more opening regularly. Like, if you see a new building going up in Trinidad and Tobago, you feel like there's a 50-50 chance it might be some kind of private medical something. So, note that. Surgery Med and Southern Med sometimes share the same next door park, white leather, because they're so close to each other. I'm telling you, there are many of them out there. And trust me, it's not just the wealthy people or a Chinese grocery. If it's not a medical office, it's a Chinese grocery. One out of the 2. Heading to the police and crime now, though. The Prime Minister spoke about his commissioner and he had some remarks to make about the state of the police service. PM details troubled state of T&T police service. Prime Minister Dr. Keith Rowley referred to a troubled and wounded police service while addressing the government's role in addressing crime and criminality in a news conference on Tuesday morning. He was quoting from the final report of the Police Manpower Audit Committee done in 2017, which in its executive summary stated that the TTPS was at the time in a wounded state, troubled by a complex network of problems and its inability to rescue or recover itself. The Prime Minister cited data within the report which stated that 54% of officers believe that the TTPS had unsatisfactorily been organized to deal with crime. In addition, the report from the committee, of which current Commissioner Erla Harewood Christopher was a part, J. King says, well, when taxes raise, the quality of healthcare will also raise. This is why we should raise taxes. Okay, J. King. Well, on that note, can you message me privately? I have a Nigerian prince that I know who told me that he has an inheritance for you. We just need some of your banking details to get that over to you. But you seem like a brilliant guy who cannot be tricked by any kind of folly. So message me and I'll get that Nigerian prince the Nigerian prince and I will work that out for you. That donation is sure. So current Commissioner Erla Harewood Christopher was part of this committee that did this report on the police. It was a survey on the police in 2017. 96% of officers said they believed public confidence in the TTPS ranged from 0 to very low, and that the police service could not command the confidence of the population. And then, of course, that's 2017. 96% of police believe that. Believe that they don't command the trust and confidence of the public. So then why would the police act the way they act? You're saying you are aware, 96% of police are aware that the people don't trust us. And that's how you would behave? Ironically, the report states that 40% of officers of all ranks and ages believe that corruption within the service ranges from very much to too much. Isn't that interesting? All these officers that pretend like they don't see it, 40% of them know that the corruption inside of the service is too much. That's just short of half. And that's not to say that the other 60% aren't very much aware of the corruption. They just may not think it's at the level of too much quite yet. And you'd guess that some of that 60% would be the corrupted people themselves. The degree of attention which the TTPS long required has not been forthcoming as it ought to be. Recently, there's an obvious attempt to tackle delinquent and criminal conduct in the TTPS. The disciplinary system seems to be in utter disrepair, partly due to the high level of bureaucracy involved, said the report. So, the report from the police admitted that the police know that there isn't sufficient disciplinary methods for for dealing with errant officers. They know that. And you see, this is kind of like what we were talking about last night, where you're telling me to feel sorry for someone. But Tanti Earls was part of the committee that came out with these findings. You knew the wounded state of the police. To me, if I'm taking a job like that and I know the state that the police are in, from the moment I get this job, the thing I'm saying constantly is what needs to change. So that at least the people don't say, well, you're saying that you can do this and you're failing. No, I will say that what needs to change is X, Y, Z. We're rating from X from the government, we're rating from Y from the judiciary, and we're rating from on Z from the people. I don't hear a list of this. The only thing I hear the police saying they really need is the confidence of the people. Well, that is a determined reaction. There are actions that determine the reaction that is the trust. You can't just change the trust, you have to change the actions. What do you think about Hines misleading the population about camo? Well, I saw what he said, and as far as I know, as far as the laws that have usually been enforced, it's any camo in any color as determined by the seizing officers, they can seize. But for Mr. Hines to now see that it has to resemble a Defense Force uniform, I think in order for him to get away with saying something like that, he has to at least own up to the fact that that's not what was always the case. Okay, you're saying that now, but that wasn't always the case. Y'all are asking about Mr. Hines' statement there. Let's see if we could jump in that. Hines, camouflage sin shorts not against the law. Minister of National Security Fitzgerald Hines said on Monday that female fetters sporting camouflage shorts were not breaching the Defense Act, addressing a pre-carnival briefing at his ministry on Abercrombie Street. The regulations state that the public is not supposed to wear anything that looks similar or is a direct representation of the Defense Force uniform. The Defense Force, Customs and Police continue to enforce the law in relation to this. Hines read the act and said an offense was only committed by someone wearing camouflage clothing that could have him or her mistaken for a TTDF member. He grinned and held up his left hand with 2 inches between forefinger and thumb to illustrate his point. So if she turned up in a real sin shorts in the camouflage color and a white or a pink top, that does not exactly resemble the Defense Force. Therefore, it is in this regard that the Colonel says they will enforce the law. They will make their own judgment and they take the timing from the facts in front of them before the police decide whether they will prosecute or not. I remember years ago a police officer came and be on the tape and stated the same thing as Mr. Hines. I have heard people say this, but that's not how the law was enforced. We know this. You could have a camouflage armband and the police would take it from you. If you put a camouflage button as an earring in your ears, the police will take that from you. So, so if the minister is saying that now, then are you saying that many people have a right to sue the state? Anyone who had their camouflage clothing taken, do they have the right to sue the state then? As Gigi pointed out, he quoted the Defense Force Act, but the laws saying different. I feel like I read the law on it before, and the law was vague enough to encompass all camouflage. And if I recall correctly, Double G was saying he was attempting to change the law back when he was National Security Minister because it is, in fact, in the law. And in that, and these are the things that I say really upset me about law enforcement and police in general. It's such, and that's why I regularly make the point, and I say it on purpose. I regularly make the point that police attitude that is displayed so evidently across our nation, that police attitude is a frightening attitude to have as your spouse or loved one that you have to live with in a house, you know. How you could arrest people for decades, season their goods, and then come brand new and pretend like, no, that was never the case. Like, okay, if you're saying it's not the case now, at least admit that what you did for the past couple decades was cruelty and you're trying to rectify some of that. At least say that. But you can't come out and pretend like what happened that in the last couple decades never happened. I never beat you, and your nose bruise, your eye have a bloodshot in it. What are you talking about? I never hit you, girl. Scary kind of people to be around. Scary kind of people. Nathan, what about the camouflage TTBS is wearing? Who gave them that authorization? I don't know. The minister said pink camo is okay, but the custom flyer has a pink camo pants on it. And we know this. We know that custom seizes all different colors of camo. We know this. It's not a hidden thing. That's why I said for the minister to come out and say these things, he has a lot of clearing up to do. You can't just come out and say it like this has always been the established fact. Doesn't work like that. What I find interesting about the Prime Minister's comments and the police, though, is he's basically saying that the problem with the police, he said the problem with the police is management is difficult to come from the inside. What about the embarrassment of stripping you in public with the 3/4 pants? Yes, legit people, it was done before. J. King says there seems to be a breakdown in communication. Somewhere it needs to be rectified. That's not just communication. Is this confirmation that lawyers are liars? Ha! Yes, he is in both camps. He was once a police and he is now a lawyer, so he is in both camps. I wonder if as a police he sees some people's pink camo himself. I wouldn't even be surprised if that's the case. And he would sit there with such boldness in his face to say like it has never been that way before. But yeah, the Prime Minister spoke about the police, the problem with the police. And he was saying that the problem is constitutional. In order to reorder the police, there needs to be constitutional changes. And to me, then this should be the main thing on the front burner that the government speaks about to no end. Tell us, what constitutional changes do you want to make to the police to make it more effective? And you see, it's such a cop out to say that what we need are constitutional changes to really make the police more effective. Okay, what constitutional changes there, sir? It's mighty convenient for you to just lump it in with constitutional changes and not actually itemizing what those changes are. Recently, I thought that the time would have come for the government to take this recommendation frontally. We had felt this report could have formed the basis for some of those discussions. None of that could happen without the parliament, and parliamentarians have to interfere with the constitution to create any such thing. The police service is rooted in the constitution. So any change that would be significant, such as a police inspectorate to oversee police work and jobs in securing the country, much of this involves the majority of changes on constitution. He said that the issue of use and expectation of the police and its duty did not start with the government, but rather was something that had transcended administrations. It was a problem, he said, for governments to find individuals within the service who could move into the top position and sustain the policing within the country. This, he speculated, was why a previous administration had outsourced the position to officers outside of the country. However, he said this did not work. So what he's saying there is the regular problem I talk about. Who do you put to lead the police service? It seems like we do not get capable people coming through the ranks of the police that can effectively lead the police service. And that's what the Prime Minister was saying there. And he speculated that's why some administrations went outside of the country. I presume he's talking about Gibbs and Iwatsky. And I would speculate that's why his administration went outside of the police service to Gary. And for me, I might see that those experiments were still better than returning to the same batch and return another batch to lead the service. If constitutional change is necessary for fixing the police service, to me, that's right within the government's purview. Then, for real, the government cannot blame the police. They need to be writing the legislation. Show us the laws that fix our police. Amirali says Gary is the man with the plan. So some people say. That's what some people say. All right, people. Are there any further questions or comments on the inside before I dive out? They're fighting civilians with normal camo. Bro, we know what the minister said is not the reality on the ground. We know that. I would hope that at least, and this is where I put some blame on our journalists in Trinidad and Tobago. I would hope that at least some of our journalists would pick some of these people up on these questions. When next you see the minister, ask him about this. Okay, minister, you said this, but the experience of people on the ground is that they have been harassed for these things. Are you saying that the police and the officers have been acting incorrectly when they do that? Ask him those questions. Stop asking nonsense. If one can lie with small things, what would you do with big things? Have you tried politics? I'll vote for you. Not in that nature, and I don't think I have any interest in going up in that nature, in that direction. All right, people, that's all I have for now. I hope you're educated, informed, or entertained. This has been the Mindful Live. I am Nathan Springer. Be sure to head over to Nathan Springer on YouTube and hit that subscribe button. Cardell says I have my camo pants rest down, gonna dust it out and take away in the night. Yes, ha. Is if you publicly lie about camo, what else how can we trust? I don't know. Don't trust politicians is what my advice would be. All right, people, I will see you guys again for the next Mindful Live tomorrow, starting around that 9:30 period time. Until then, people, hold it down, stay safe, stay well. I'll see you guys